Madagascar. The forest is still dark when the first sound cuts through it. A cry, somewhere between a whale and a wolf, rolling out across the canopy from a mile away. Then another answers it, then a third. Within 90 seconds, an entire rainforest is singing, and you are standing frozen in the middle of it, not moving, barely breathing, because nothing on earth has prepared you for this sound. That is an Indri lemur, waking up, and it means you have arrived somewhere completely unlike anywhere else on this planet. Here is what almost nobody tells you about this island before you go. It broke away from mainland Africa 160 million years ago. Then, 88 million years after that, it broke away from India too. And then, it simply sat there, alone, in the middle of the Indian Ocean, for another 80 million years. No people, no lions, nothing but the island, evolving completely by itself. While the rest of the world was busy pairing predators with prey, lions with zebras, wolves with deer, this island evolved in total isolation. And what came out of that isolation, nobody outside had ever seen before. A tree that looks like it was planted upside down. An animal that looks unfinished, like evolution simply stopped halfway through drawing it. A group of people whose DNA is half Southeast Asian and half African, speaking a language closer to Indonesian than to anything spoken on the neighboring mainland. Scientists have a name for this place. They call it the eighth continent. The people who actually live here call it one word: Madagascar. Have you ever been somewhere so different from anything you expected that your brain genuinely struggled to process it? Because that is exactly what this island does to nearly everyone who sets foot on it. And we are only about to scratch the surface. Madagascar is the fourth largest island on Earth, roughly the size of Texas, tilted sideways off the eastern coast of Africa, separated from the mainland by 250 miles of open water called the Mozambique Channel. Its coastline stretches 3,000 miles, longer than the entire east coast of the United States, from Maine all the way down to Florida. But size alone does not explain why this island feels the way it does. Here is what actually makes it strange. Madagascar is not one landscape. It is 5 completely different worlds, stitched together inside a single coastline. Head east, and you find tropical rainforest, thick, humid, and alive with sound at every hour of the day. Climb into the middle of the island, and you reach the Central Highlands, sitting over 4,000 feet above sea level, cooler than Denver, Colorado, where red-roofed houses cling to hillsides carved into endless terraces of rice. Drive further west, and the landscape shifts again into dry savanna. Continue south, and you hit semi-desert, home to the spiny forest, a landscape so alien it looks like it was sketched by someone trying to imagine a different planet entirely. And far in the north, an extinct volcano called Maromokotro rises to over 9,000 feet, taller than Mount St. Helens. Off the southwestern coast sits the Tulare Reef, the third largest coral reef system on Earth, trailing behind only Australia's Great Barrier Reef and Belize's Barrier Reef. The seasons here follow a rhythm most travelers never expect either. Dry season runs from April through October, cool and clear. Wet season runs November through March. February brings cyclones, which makes it the one month almost everyone tells you to avoid. But when the timing lines up right, this island rewards you in ways few other places on Earth can. Between July and September, humpback whales migrate past Île Sainte-Marie. Between October and December, whale sharks up to 40 feet long appear near Nosy Be. And every single morning, without fail, deep in the rainforest, the Indris starts singing again. One island, 5 completely different worlds. And we have not even reached the people yet. Here is a question I want you to sit with as we go further into this story. What happens to a group of humans when they are cut off from the rest of the world for over 1,000 years? Forced to build an entire culture, an entire language, an entire way of understanding life and death, almost completely from scratch. Because that is precisely what happened here. And by the end of this video, I think it will change how you think about isolation altogether. We are going to walk through rainforests where lemurs sing to each other across the canopy. We are going to stand beneath trees that have been alive for 2,000 years. we are going to witness a ceremony where families dig up the bones of their ancestors, wrap them in fresh silk, and dance with them under the open sky. And we are going to try to understand a word, fihavanana, that has no direct translation in English, but somehow holds this entire culture together. If you are ready for this epic journey, drop a comment right now, telling me exactly where in the world you are watching this from. Hit the like button, subscribe to Legends TV, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story we bring you from the far corners of this earth. Because what you are about to see over the next half hour is unlike anything this channel has ever covered before. Let's go. Here is a country you probably do not think about enough, because the people of Madagascar are genuinely one of the most surprising groups of humans on the entire planet. 30 million Malagasi people, spread across 18 official ethnic groups, living on an island sitting right off the coast of Africa. And when scientists actually looked at the DNA here, they got confused. Because Madagascar sits directly next to Africa, close enough that you would assume its people trace back almost entirely to the African mainland. But the Merina people, who live up in the Central Highlands, carry DNA that is closer to Indonesian populations than to their nearest African neighbors, separated by a channel only 250 miles wide. Look at faces across this island, and you see an entire world compressed into one place. The Sakalava along the coast carry distinctly African features. The Antemoro in the east trace back to Arab lineage. The Merina in the center carry high cheekbones, straight hair, almond-shaped eyes. One island, 4 continents, quietly written into a single population's faces. And the language proves it, beyond any doubt. Malagasi is spoken by 92% of the entire population, and when linguists traced its roots, they found something nobody expected. It is not African at all. It is Austronesian. Its closest living relative is a language called Ma'anyan, spoken today on the island of Borneo, thousands of miles away across open ocean. Which means, sometime around 1500 years ago, a group of people climbed into canoes on the other side of the Indian Ocean and sailed roughly 4,000 miles to find this island. Nobody fully knows why. No records exist explaining the decision. Just the fact that they made it, against odds that are difficult to even calculate, and built an entire civilization on the other side of an ocean from where their language was born. Have you ever tried to imagine what that crossing actually required? Not just the physical journey, but the decision itself, to leave everything behind and sail towards something that might not even exist. I want you to hold on to that question, because it matters more than you might think once we reach the end of this story. Here is a single word that will change how you understand this entire culture. Fihavanana. It does not translate cleanly into English, but it means something close to kinship, solidarity, mutual support, stretched far beyond blood relation. Your neighbor is your fihavanana, your relative, in every meaningful sense that matters. This concept runs far bigger than family alone. It runs the entire country, quietly shaping business, politics, and daily life at every level. If Ubuntu carries the soul of South Africa, and Ikigai carries the soul of Japan, Fihavanana carries the soul of Madagascar. Speaking of running an entire country, meet Ranavalona I. She ruled Madagascar for 33 years, from 1828 to 1861. And while the rest of Africa was being carved apart by European empires during that exact same period, she held Madagascar independent, alone. A woman standing against an entire world that did not want her to succeed, and somehow she did. Here is what ties everything together on this island, and it might be the single most important idea in this entire story. The Malagasi do not believe their ancestors are gone. They believe they are still here, still watching, still present in the lives of the living. Every village holds its own fadi, its own set of taboos, passed down through generations. Some forbid whistling, some forbid twins. Break the rule, even by accident, and you are believed to insult the Razana, the ancestral spirits themselves. This single belief becomes deeply important later in our story, because there is one ceremony, unlike anything else on Earth, where you actually meet them face to face. You have made it through the first part of this journey with me, and I have a feeling the deepest, strangest, most beautiful parts are still ahead of us. If you are finding yourself as genuinely surprised by this island as I was while researching it, drop a single word in the comments below right now. Just one word describing how this story is making you feel so far, because I read every single one of them, and I want to know I am not the only person completely captivated by this place. Before we go further into the wild side of this island, let me show you the two sides of Madagascar you are about to fall in love with, because this island genuinely lives at two completely different speeds, and somehow both of them are beautiful. First, the city. It is called Antananarivo. Locals simply say Tana, and Tana is built directly on top of 12 hills, sitting over 4,000 feet above sea level, higher than Denver, Colorado. So when you land here, the air feels thin, the light feels soft, and every single morning, mist rolls between red-tiled rooftops, like something pulled directly out of a painting nobody expected to see in real life. Down in Analakli Market, the entire city eats breakfast for pennies. Rice with greens costs about $1. Fresh rice flour cakes, called mofo-gassi, cost 20 cents. Climb up the hill into Isoraka, and colonial French balconies drip with bougainvillea, while cafes serve coffee, grown just 200 meters away. Right at the center of it all sits Lake Anosi, shaped like a heart, ringed with jacaranda trees that turn a brilliant purple every October. Tana does not run on strict schedules. It runs on improvisation and a stubborn, quiet rhythm you can only learn by watching it long enough to understand. Now, the other Madagascar. 68% of Malagasi people live in the countryside, and that is where the true soul of this island actually lives. Head south into Betsileo country, and you find endless rice terraces cascading down mountainsides in every direction. The ones in Bali get famous online, but the Malagasi have been cutting terraces like these into these hills long before anyone had a phone to photograph them. In villages like Betafo, Manandona, and Bositra, the day begins around 5 in the morning, with cattle herders and rice planters already moving through the mist before the sun has fully risen. Dinner is family, gathered close together. In many places, there is no electricity at all. Just conversation, valiha music drifting through the dark, and more stars than you have likely ever seen in one sky at once. And they have a phrase here that captures the entire rhythm of rural life. Mora mora, slowly, slowly. It is not just a saying, it is a lifestyle, a philosophy, an entire way of moving through the world without rushing toward anything. Have you ever lived somewhere that forced you to slow down, whether you wanted to or not? I want to hear about it in the comments below, because I think this next part of the story is going to make you understand exactly why that pace matters here. Because there are locals on this island who make even Malagasy people stop in complete awe, and they are not human at all. There are 107 known species of lemur, and every single one exists only here, nowhere else on the entire planet. Let's start with the smallest. Madame Berthe's mouse lemur, weighing about 1 ounce, smaller than a chicken egg, the tiniest primate found anywhere on Earth, now the largest. The Indri, weighing up to 20 pounds, standing 2 feet tall, with a call that carries a full 1.5 miles through dense forest. In between sit the ring-tailed lemurs, the striped tail ones that inspired King Julien from the animated film. The sifakas, dancing lemurs that hop sideways on 2 legs like tiny ballerinas crossing open ground. And the ii, nocturnal, with enormous yellow eyes and a middle finger nearly twice as long as its others, used to tap gently on tree bark, listening closely for the sound of grubs hiding just beneath the surface. How do they actually survive here? They eat fruit, leaves, flowers. Some eat insects when they can find them. And every single morning, the Indri sings for exactly 90 seconds to mark its territory across the canopy. One group starts the call, another answers from nearly a mile away, a third joins in, and then a fourth, until the entire forest becomes one continuous chorus. British naturalists have given this moment a name. They call it the whale song of the forest. But here is the hard truth sitting underneath all of this beauty. 94% of lemur species are currently threatened with extinction. Madagascar has already lost 90% of its original forest cover. 90% gone. Lemurs appear on Madagascar's money, on its stamps, woven into the very identity of this nation. When DreamWorks released the animated film Madagascar in 2005, featuring the voices of Ben Stiller, Chris Rock, and David Schwimmer, it earned $890 million worldwide and put King Julian into living rooms from Boston to Bangkok. But more importantly than the box office numbers, ecotourism built specifically around lemurs now feeds hundreds of villages across this island. Locals who once hunted these animals now actively protect them instead. That shift, from hunter to protector, is real transformation, built entirely on the value of keeping something alive rather than consuming it. But lemurs are not the only shapeshifters found on this island. You know what I genuinely love about Madagascar? The music here makes no sense at all, until the moment you understand exactly where these people originally came from. Meet the valiha, Madagascar's national instrument, a zither carved from a single stalk of bamboo, with strings running the entire length of its body. Pluck it, and the sound comes out haunting, metallic, and somehow genuinely calming, like wind chimes that somehow gained a soul. Here is the wild part. The valiha did not come from Africa at all. It came from Southeast Asia. Its closest instrumental cousins are still played today in Kalimantan and across the Philippines. When you hear it in a small cafe in Antananarivo, you are hearing 1,500 years of unbroken history, the exact sound those first sailors carried with them across 4,000 miles of open ocean. Now travel out to the coast and everything shifts again. The music of the Sakalava people is called salagi, a fast, driving 128 beats per minute rhythm, built around electric guitar, accordion, and drums that hit like heartbeats. The first time you hear salagi playing in a bar in Diego Suarez, you will find yourself dancing until sunrise without ever quite deciding to start. Up in the highlands, you find something completely different again, Malagasi folk opera, where 15 to 20 performers sing, joke, and gently roast local politicians through poetic verse. Villagers show up with picnic blankets spread across open fields, turning the whole gathering into outdoor theater built for the entire community at once. 3 completely different sounds, one single country, a combination genuinely impossible to fake anywhere else on Earth. And when this music inevitably makes you hungry, you are not going to be disappointed by what comes next. Malagasy food remains one of Africa's genuinely best-kept secrets. Simple, comforting, built entirely around the idea of sharing a table with people you love. If you only eat one dish on this entire island, make it romazava, the national dish, historically cooked exclusively for Marina Kings. A slow stew of zebu beef, mixed with local greens called braids, ginger, tomato, and onion, served over hot white rice. Nothing fancy, just deeply, quietly satisfying in a way that stays with you. Would you actually try romazava if it were placed in front of you tonight? Tell me honestly in the comments, because I think this dish alone might convince a few of you to book a flight. Then there is ravitoto, cassava leaves pounded down and slow cooked with pork, earthy and hearty, the kind of dish every child on this island grows up eating, without ever questioning it. On the coast, try akoho si voanio, chicken slow cooked in coconut milk with ginger and garlic. Nosy Bee and Sainte Marie make it best, using coconuts pulled from trees, just steps away from the kitchen. For breakfast, 20 cents gets you mofo gassi, a sweet rice cake still warm from the iron mold it was cooked in. 50 cents gets you koba ravina, a banana and peanut cake wrapped and steamed inside banana leaves. $2 gets you grilled zebu skewers, cooked slowly over open coals until the edges char just right. Now, get ready, because up next is the shot you have almost certainly already seen on a postcard, without ever knowing exactly where it was taken. It is late afternoon in August. You are standing on a red dirt road just outside a town called Morondava. The air is warm and still. There are no cars here, no crowds of tourists, just you, and in front of you, 25 trees that have been growing in this exact spot for 800 years. They are baobabs, Adansonia grandidieri, almost 100 feet tall, with trunks so thick that 5 full-grown adults could barely wrap their arms around a single one together. A single tree can hold 32,000 gallons of water inside its trunk, roughly the volume of a full backyard swimming pool. The oldest baobabs standing here are pushing 2,000 years old. Here is the fact that genuinely stopped me cold when I first learned it. There are 9 known species of baobab on the entire planet. All of continental Africa combined has exactly 1. Madagascar alone has 6. 2/3 of every baobab species on Earth live only on this island. Trees so strange in appearance that European botanists initially refused to believe they were real when the first sketches finally reached Paris. The Malagasi call the baobab Renala, mother of the forest. Near a town called Antsirab, there stands a sacred baobab that carries a weight of meaning far beyond its size. In some villages, when a baby dies before reaching 5 months old, the family does not bring them to a cemetery. They bring them here instead. The tiny remains are gently placed inside the tree's hollow trunk. The baobab is believed to watch over the child until the ancestors welcome them home. Have you ever encountered a tradition from somewhere else in the world that completely reshaped how you thought about grief or about death itself? I would genuinely like to hear about it in the comments below, because I think this island has more of those moments waiting for us than almost anywhere else we could have chosen to film. A short drive away, 2 baobabs have grown twisted completely around each other, known locally as Baobab Amaro, the lover's baobab. Local legend claims they were once 2 lovers whose families forbade them from marrying. So they ran into the forest together and became trees instead, choosing permanence over separation. The best time to witness this place is sunset. The sun drops directly between the 2 largest trees on the avenue. The sky turns a deep, burning orange. A black parrot passes silently overhead like a shadow puppet cut from paper. Nobody around you speaks. There is genuinely nothing left to say in that moment. That is simply what Madagascar does to people who stand still long enough to let it. And this, believe it or not, is only the beginning of what this island has waiting for you. 13 miles northeast of Tana sits a hill that Malagasi people still call the Sacred Blue Mountain, Ambohimanga. Here is why it matters so deeply. This is the only cultural UNESCO World Heritage Site found anywhere in Madagascar. And it is not a ruin, it is not a museum behind glass. It is a living monument, still actively used, still actively visited, still actively sacred to the people who come here. The hill is protected by 7 massive stone gates. The main gate features a rolling stone door weighing 12 tons of solid rock, pushed shut every single night by dozens of men working together, exactly as it has been done for centuries. Behind those walls, in 1788, a young king named Andrianampoinimarina began the long process of unifying every clan across the highlands into a single kingdom. His palace, Tranovola, still stands today, small, wooden, modest, almost humble in scale. And out of that modest, unassuming house, one man built the foundation of what would eventually become the entire modern nation of Madagascar. But the real reason this place remains sacred is far simpler than politics or history. Pilgrims still come here every single day. You might see a grandmother wrapped in a white lambda cloth, quietly pouring rum into the roots of a sacred fig tree. That is not staged for tourists. That is not performance. That is real, living prayer, exactly as it has always been. Would you feel comfortable witnessing a moment like that up close, knowing it was not created for an audience at all? I want to know your honest answer in the comments, because I think how you'd respond in that moment says a lot about how you experience the world when you travel. And speaking of sacred forests, 4 hours east of Tana by road, it is 6 in the morning. Cold mist hangs low across the rainforest canopy of Andasibe-Mantadia National Park. Then you hear it, the first sound, an Indian, singing somewhere above the mist. Its call carries a full mile and a half through the trees. Then another voice answers from somewhere far away. Then a third joins in. Then a fourth, until the entire forest is singing together, all at once, for exactly 90 seconds. British naturalists have a name for this moment, the whale song of the forest. And for those 90 seconds, you will not move, you will not speak. You will simply feel very small and very lucky, standing inside something far older and far larger than yourself. And Andasibe holds far more than just the interest. Diademid sifakas leap through the canopy on 2 powerful legs, covering distances that seem physically impossible for an animal their size. Black and white ruffed lemurs watch quietly from the higher branches, barely moving, tracking your every step below. And camouflaged on a single leaf, inches from your face if you know exactly where to look, sits a Parsons chameleon, the heaviest chameleon species on Earth, weighing over a pound and a half. Now let me take you somewhere the land finally ends, and the humpback whales begin to sing their own kind of song. There are two islands off Madagascar's coast that feel like they belong to an entirely different country altogether. Off the northwest coast sits Nosy Be, which locals call the perfumed island, because it grows ylang-ylang, the exact flower used in Chanel No. 5. The beaches here run turquoise, the sand runs white, and Andilana Beach regularly makes every list of the best beaches in the entire Indian Ocean. Between October and December, whale sharks arrive in these shallow waters, 40-foot animals that let you swim beside them like curious neighbors rather than predators to fear. Off the east coast sits Ile Sainte-Marie, also known as Nosy Boraha. And this island carries a history most people never expect to find here. In the 1600s and 1700s, this was one of the largest pirate havens anywhere on Earth. Captain William Kidd is believed to be buried on this very island. A real pirate cemetery still stands here today, complete with tombstones carved with crossbones. But that is only the island's past. Between July and September, humpback whales arrive to breed in these warm coastal waters. You climb into a small boat, and they breach right beside you. 40 tons of animal rising up out of the ocean, like a mountain suddenly deciding to move. Have you ever been close enough to a wild animal that size to genuinely feel its presence before you even saw it fully surface? I want to hear that story in the comments below, because I think this next reveal might just top it. Even the whales here are not the strangest creatures on this island. That title belongs to something far smaller and far more colorful. Madagascar holds 2/3 of every known chameleon species on the entire planet. 2/3 on one island alone. Meet the panther chameleon, with 8 distinct regional color patterns, almost like a real-world version of a Pokemon. Blue variants appear near Nosy Be, red variants appear near Ambilobe, and here is what most people get completely wrong about these animals. Chameleons do not primarily change color to hide from predators. They change color to communicate, broadcasting their mood, their body temperature, their intentions, in a language built entirely out of pigment. Their tongue shoots out nearly twice the length of their own body, snapping an insect out of the air in 7/100ths of a second, faster than your eye could ever consciously track. Their eyes rotate a full 360 degrees, completely independently of each other. One tracking a beetle nearby, while the other watches you approach from a totally different direction. Then come the extremes. Parsons chameleon, over a pound and a half, the giant of the species, and Bruxia micra, barely 1 inch long. Smaller than a match head, the smallest chameleon known to science anywhere on Earth. Now meet Madagascar's top predator, an animal called the fossa, which looks exactly like nature could not decide between building a cat or a mongoose, so it simply built both at once. 3 to 6 feet long, including its tail, weighing around 20 pounds, capable of climbing down tree trunks head first, its long tail wrapping around branches like a functional 5th limb. There are maybe 2,500 fossas left in the wild today. In the animated film Madagascar, the fossa was drawn as the villain of the story. In reality, it functions as the balance keeper of an entire ecosystem, the top predator holding everything beneath it in careful check. Speaking of what actually grows on this island, one single plant made Madagascar famous across the entire world, whether people realize it or not. Every time you taste real vanilla ice cream, there is a strong chance you are tasting Madagascar directly, because this one country produces roughly 75 to 80% of the entire world's vanilla supply. Most of it comes from the northeast, from the Sava region, from towns like Sambava, Antalaha, Vohemar, and Andapa. And here is the wild part almost nobody knows. The vanilla flower opens for exactly one single day out of the entire year. If a farmer does not hand-pollinate it with a tiny wooden stick within that narrow window, he gets nothing, not one single bean, for the entire season's harvest riding on that one flower. In 2019, a single kilogram of Madagascar vanilla sold for $600, making it the second most expensive spice in the entire world, behind only saffron. Vanilla built entire villages here almost overnight. It also broke some of them just as fast, when global prices crashed without warning. Down on Nosy B, farmers also grow ylang-ylang, small white flowers carrying an intensely sweet scent. It takes literal tons of these flowers to produce a single ounce of perfume oil. But that oil happens to be one of the 82 individual ingredients that together make Chanel No. 5 the most iconic perfume in modern history. And do not skip the baobab fruit either. The pulp found inside those ancient trees is dry, tart, and packed with 6 times the vitamin C of a single orange. Locals mix it into juices and smoothies without a second thought. A genuine superfood that existed on this island 1,000 years before anyone on Earth had invented that particular word. If someone told you right now that a single flower from this island might be sitting inside the perfume on your own dresser at home, would that change how you thought about Madagascar? Drop your honest answer below, because I think a lot of people are about to realize how much closer this island already is to their own daily lives than they ever assumed. Now let me show you a place where the Earth itself looks like it belongs on an entirely different planet. In southern Madagascar, there is a park that looks like a chunk of Utah somehow landed in the middle of Africa. It is called Isalo, and locals have nicknamed it the Grand Canyon of Madagascar. Massive sandstone cliffs, sculpted patiently by wind over millions of years into orange spires and jagged ridgelines. Deep canyons cut straight down through the rock, carving paths that look intentional, even though nothing here was designed. And at the bottom of one of those canyons waits something almost nobody expects to find in the middle of a desert landscape. Piscine naturelle, natural swimming pools filled with crystal clear blue water. You hike 2 hours through dry, sun-baked terrain to reach them. And when you finally dive in, the water hits you cold. Genuinely, perfectly cold. In exactly the way your body has been craving for the last 2 hours, without you fully realizing it. Ring-tailed lemurs live throughout this park. Brown lemurs move through the underbrush nearby. Siphacus leap between boulders overhead, covering distances that still do not look physically possible, no matter how many times you watch them do it. A shorter drive south brings you to Anja Community Reserve, small, not particularly famous, easy to miss if you are not looking closely at a map. But this is exactly where you will want to spend an entire morning, because Anja is owned and operated entirely by the local village itself. Every dollar of revenue generated here flows directly back into that same community, with no outside company taking a cut. The density of ring-tailed lemurs inside this reserve is the highest recorded anywhere in Madagascar. You can realistically spot 100 of them within a single hour of walking. And every single lemur you see here directly puts food on a village family's table that same evening. That is ecotourism, working exactly the way it is supposed to work, with the people who protect the land also being the people who benefit from protecting it. Have you ever visited a place where you could see, directly and immediately, that your presence as a traveler was actually helping the people who lived there, rather than simply extracting something from them? I want to hear about it in the comments below, because moments like that tend to stay with people far longer than any single photograph ever could. But everything we have walked through together so far, the trees, the animals, the villages, the music, the food, all of it has been quietly building toward one single ceremony. A ceremony that is genuinely going to change how you think about death itself, if you let it. Alright, I promised you something you have almost certainly never seen before in your life. Here it is. It is called Famadihana. It means, roughly, the turning of the bones. Every 5 to 7 years, in villages scattered across the highlands, sometime between June and September, an entire Malagasi family gathers together. They travel from Antananarivo, from Fianarantsoa, sometimes from as far away as Paris or New Jersey, or wherever life has scattered them across the globe. They meet, together, at the family tomb, and then they open it. They gently lift the wrapped remains of their ancestors out of the tomb and into the sunlight. The old cloths that once wrapped the bones are carefully removed. New silk shrouds, bright red, called lamba mena, are wrapped around them instead. Names are rewritten onto the new cloth, so the ancestors are never forgotten, so the next generation will always know exactly who is resting here and who they came from. And then, the family dances. Family members lift the newly wrapped ancestors up onto their own shoulders. Live Valiha music starts up around them. Drums begin. Singing rises over the crowd. The entire family walks 7 full times around the tomb together, laughing, crying, calling out old memories and old jokes, as if the person being carried on their shoulders could still hear every word of it. Then everyone sits down together for a shared feast. Grilled zebu, rice, toaka gasi rum. Stories that stretch back generations, told and retold until they feel like they are happening again for the very first time. Here is what took me a long time to fully understand about this ceremony, and I think it might take you a moment too. For the Malagasi, the ancestors have never actually left. They simply joined a larger, older family, one that spans both the living and the dead at the same time. For Madihana is not a sad occasion. It is genuinely a celebration. The living need the chance to remember, and the dead, in this belief system, need to know they are still loved, still spoken of, still carried, quite literally, on the shoulders of the people who came after them. It is how Fihavanana, that word for family and belonging we talked about earlier, survives even beyond death itself. Real talk, for a moment. If a Malagasy family ever invites you to witness a Famadihana, understand that this is one of the highest honors a stranger can receive anywhere on this earth. They are not inviting you as a spectator, standing on the outside looking in. They are inviting you because they genuinely believe their ancestors will be glad to have you there too, standing beside their own family, as if you already belonged. Has a family, anywhere in the world, ever welcomed you into a tradition like that, something deeply personal that you never expected to be invited into? I would love to hear that story below, because I have a feeling this comment section is about to become one of the most meaningful parts of this entire video. Now, you might already be wondering how you would actually get yourself to a place like this. Before we go any further, here is everything you genuinely need to know if this island has already started working its way onto your travel list. Best time to visit runs from April through October, the dry season. That is the window when everything simply works the way it is supposed to. Roads stay open. National parks remain fully accessible. Skies stay clear for days at a time. Within that broader window, July through September is peak season for whale watching around Sainte Marie. October through December is when whale sharks begin arriving near Nosy Bay. August through October is when the baobabs along Morondava's famous avenue turn their deepest, richest green, and sunset there becomes something you will not forget for a long time. June through September is for Madihana season across the highlands, if witnessing that ceremony is part of why you are drawn here in the first place. What you genuinely want to avoid is January through March. That is cyclone season, and roads leading to major sites regularly wash out during those months, sometimes for days at a stretch. Now, let's talk about money, because Madagascar remains one of the most affordable, genuinely rewarding destinations left anywhere on Earth. Budget travelers can comfortably live here on $40 to $60 a day. Mid-range travel runs closer to $80 to $150 daily. Luxury lodges tucked inside the national parks start around $250 a night and climb from there. But for many travelers, staying in one, even once, becomes an experience worth remembering for years. Flights from the United States typically run $1,200 to $1,800 round trip, usually connecting through Paris or Addis Ababa. Domestic flights within the island are far more affordable. Tana to Morondava runs around $200. Tana to Nosy Be runs closer to $250. Book those domestic routes early, because seats fill up fast during peak season. The visa process is refreshingly simple. American travelers receive a visa on arrival. Stays up to 30 days are completely free. Stays under 15 days only require an $11 tourist tax at the border. Bring a passport valid for at least 6 months beyond your arrival date, along with a yellow fever certificate if you happen to be traveling from a country within a designated yellow fever zone. A few final tips worth remembering before you go. Always ask permission before photographing people directly, especially in smaller villages. Every single village carries its own fadi, its own local taboos, and a good local guide will walk you through exactly what to respect and what to avoid without you ever having to guess. Bring cash in dollars or euros, since ATMs remain limited outside the capital city. Avoid walking alone through downtown Tana after dark. And talk to your doctor ahead of time about malaria prevention if your trip includes lowland regions of the island. So that is Madagascar, laid out as honestly and completely as I know how to tell it. Have you started mentally building your own itinerary already? Even just a little, somewhere in the back of your mind while watching this. I want to know which region pulled at you the hardest. Drop it in the comments, whether it was the rainforest, the baobabs, the highlands, or the coast, because I read every single answer, and I am genuinely curious which part of this island speaks loudest to each of you individually. Now, before we close this journey out completely, I want to pull back for a moment and look at everything this island actually represents, because I do not think a single fact or statistic fully captures it on its own. Madagascar holds 107 species of lemur, found absolutely nowhere else on this planet. 6 distinct species of baobab, out of only 9 known to exist anywhere on Earth. 18 separate ethnic groups, woven together under one single word for family, Fihavanana, that somehow manages to include your own neighbor inside its definition, without hesitation. It is an island where time seems to have simply forgotten to move at the same speed as the rest of the world around it, where women dance, quite literally, with the bones of their own ancestors, and call it celebration rather than mourning, where men still wrestle zebu bulls with their bare hands, exactly as it has been done for generations before them, where a single tree can serve as a mother, where a small hut can function as a shrine, and where a total stranger will offer you dinner before they ever think to ask your name. If you ever set foot here yourself, you will leave carrying something with you that you will not be able to fully name, no matter how hard you try to explain it to the people back home who ask you about the trip. Because Madagascar is not simply a place on a map, it stands as genuine evidence that this earth is far more creative, far stranger, and far more beautiful than most of us ever gave it credit for. Let me take you somewhere quieter now, somewhere the cameras rarely go, because I think it might be the part of this story that stays with you the longest. In a small village outside Fianarantsoa, a girl named Voahangi wakes up before sunrise, the same way she has every single day of her life. Her job, before school even begins, is to walk the family's zebu cattle out to graze along the terraced hillsides that have fed her family for generations. She is 9 years old. She has never seen the ocean, even though it sits less than 200 miles away. She has never used the internet. And yet, ask her about her ancestors. Ask her who is buried in the family tomb on the hill above her village, and she can recite 4 generations of names without hesitating once. Is there anything you know that deeply about your own family, 4 generations back, without needing to look it up? I want you to actually sit with that question for a second, because I think it says something important about what gets lost when a culture moves too quickly, and what Madagascar has managed, against all odds, to hold on to. Education here remains a genuine struggle. Many rural schools operate with a single teacher covering 5 grade levels inside one room, sometimes without walls, sometimes without electricity, sometimes with nothing more than a chalkboard propped against a tree. And yet, literacy rates across Madagascar continue climbing year after year, driven largely by parents who walk their children miles each morning, simply because they believe, with total conviction, that this generation deserves a different life than the one before it. That belief, quiet and largely invisible to the outside world, might be the single most powerful force on this entire island, stronger even than the ocean that once carried the first sailors here. But this island is also fighting something far larger than poverty alone. Madagascar has already lost 90% of its original forest cover, and that number continues climbing every single year. Slash-and-burn agriculture, locally called tavi, clears land for rice farming, but it also strips away the exact habitat that lemurs, chameleons, and the fossa all depend on to survive. It is not malice driving this, it is survival. Families doing what they have always done to feed themselves, in a country where nearly 75% of people live below the international poverty line. Here is what makes this story complicated, and worth sitting with, honestly rather than looking away from. The very forests that make Madagascar one of the most biologically extraordinary places on Earth are being cleared by people who, in many cases, have no other realistic option in front of them. Conservation here cannot simply mean telling people to stop. It has to mean building something else for them to do instead. Ecotourism, sustainable agriculture, alternative income. exactly like what is already happening in places like Anja Community Reserve, where protecting a lemur now means feeding a family directly. Does that change how you think about conservation, knowing it is rarely as simple as good versus bad, and far more often a question of what real alternatives actually exist for the people living closest to the land? I would genuinely like to hear your perspective on this in the comments below, because I think it is one of the more difficult, honest parts of this entire story. Let me bring you back now to something warmer, because Madagascar, even inside all of its struggle, remains one of the most joyful places I have ever tried to capture on camera. Market day in a small highland town is closer to a festival than a simple errand. Women arrive balancing woven baskets on their heads, filled with lychees, mangoes, and rice grown on their own family's terraces. Children weave between the stalls, trading small coins for mofo gassies, still warm from the fire. Somewhere nearby, someone is always playing a valiha, whether or not anyone asked them to, simply because the music belongs there as much as the produce does. And in the evenings, across almost every village on this island, families gather for something called kabari, a form of formal, poetic public speaking, still used today to settle disputes, announce marriages, and mark important community decisions. Elders speak in layered proverbs and riddles, testing not just what a person says, but how elegantly they can say it. It is considered a genuine art form here, one that children are still actively taught, generation after generation, the same way other cultures teach music or sport. Have you ever witnessed a tradition where the way something was said mattered nearly as much as what was actually being said? I think Madagascar might have perfected that idea more completely than almost anywhere else on Earth. We are nearly at the end of this journey together now, and I want to bring you back, one final time, to that sound we started with, the Indri, singing somewhere deep in the rainforest, before the sun has even fully risen. Because everything we have walked through in this story, the ancestors, the baobabs, the bones wrapped in fresh silk, the girl walking her cattle before school, all of it exists inside the same quiet rhythm as that call, something ancient, still very much alive, still calling out across the canopy, still being answered. There is one more story I want to leave you with before we close this journey together, because I think it captures everything Madagascar has been trying to teach us this entire time. In a village near Andasibe, an old man named Rakoto has spent 40 years working as a guide inside the rainforest that raised him. He was born within walking distance of the trees, where the Indris sing every morning, and he can identify each family group by voice alone, the same way you might recognize a close friend's laugh from another room without needing to see their face. When tourists visit, he does not simply point out animals and recite facts. He stops, often mid-sentence, and simply listens, asking everyone around him to do the same. He once told a translator something that stuck with me long after I first heard it. He said the forest does not belong to him. He belongs to the forest, the same way his ancestors did, and the same way his grandchildren eventually will. It is not ownership, it is membership, passed down the same way a name is passed down, the same way a story is passed down at a famadihana, wrapped in fresh cloth and carried forward on someone else's shoulders. Is there a place in your own life, anywhere in the world, that has made you feel less like an owner and more like a member of something far older than yourself? I want you to think about that honestly for a moment, because I believe that feeling, more than any single fact in this entire video, is the real reason people fall in love with Madagascar and never quite leave it behind, even after they fly home. Let's go back, one final time, to everything this island has shown us. An island that broke away from Africa 160 million years ago, then broke away from India too, and sat alone in the ocean long enough to build something the rest of the world had never seen. A tree that can hold an entire swimming pool of water inside its trunk, and a village that trusts it to watch over the smallest, most fragile among them. A language carried 4,000 miles across open ocean by people whose names we will never know, but whose voices still echo in nearly every word spoken here today. A woman who ruled alone for 33 years, while an entire continent was being divided around her. A ceremony where the living dance with the dead, not out of grief, but out of love that refuses to end, simply because a heartbeat has stopped. A girl who can name 4 generations of her own family without hesitation. An old man who spent his entire life belonging to a forest rather than owning it. And every single morning, without fail, an Indri lifting its voice into the mist, calling out across a 1.5 miles of canopy, and being answered. If you ever set foot on this island yourself, you will leave carrying something you will not be able to fully name, no matter how many times people back home ask you to try. Because Madagascar is not simply a place you visit and photograph and check off a list. It is evidence, real and living, that this earth is far stranger, far more creative, and far more generous than most of us ever gave it credit for. We started this journey in the dark, standing in a rainforest before sunrise, listening to a sound we could not yet identify. I want to end it there too, because I think that is exactly where Madagascar's real story lives, in that quiet, uncertain moment, right before understanding arrives, when all you can do is stand still and listen. If Madagascar just earned a place on your own bucket list, drop the word salama in the comments below, that is hello in Malagasi, and let me know honestly which part of this story is going to stay with you the longest. Was it the lemurs singing across the canopy at dawn? The bones wrapped in fresh silk and carried on a family's shoulders? Or was it something quieter, a 9-year-old girl who can name 4 generations of her own family, without pausing to think? I am going to pin that exact question in the comments below, because I genuinely want to know, and I read every single reply myself. If this journey moved you even a fraction as much as it moved me while putting it together, take a moment right now and hit the like button. It costs you nothing, but it tells this platform that stories like Madagascar deserve to reach more people who would love them just as much as you clearly have. Subscribe to Legends TV and turn on notifications, because there are entire islands and countries left out there just as strange, just as beautiful, and just as misunderstood as this one was before today, and we are only getting started. And before you go, share this video with the one person in your life who would actually stand beside you in that rainforest at dawn. The one who would understand exactly why you went quiet listening to that sound, without needing you to explain it. Where should we take you next? Drop your guess in the comments below. Japan, Morocco, Bhutan, Peru, and there is a real chance your suggestion becomes our very next journey together. Until then, my friend, thank you for coming this far with me. Veloma. Goodbye from Madagascar.